In the Woody Allen movie Midnight in Paris, Owen Wilson plays Gil, a successful Hollywood screenwriter visiting Paris with his fiancée Inez. Gil, who is struggling to complete his first novel, falls in love with the city and fantasizes about moving there, a prospect Inez, who can hardly wait to get back to Southern California, considers just silly romantic nonsense. Although Inez's dismissal of Gil's dream is a symptom of deeper problems in their relationship, she has a point. Because it's not even contemporary Paris that Gil adores, not the Paris of the 21st century. Rather, he's fallen in love with a dream. Paris of the 1920s. The Paris of Ernest Hemingway, F. Scott and Zelda Fitzgerald, Gertrude Stein, and the whole lost generation of Americans who made the City of Lights their home after World War I. In fact, so powerfully does Gil long for this time that one night, to his surprise and consternation, he is magically transported back to that world. He is picked up at midnight by Scott and Zelda and taken in a limousine to a party, where he meets such luminaries as Cole Porter, Josephine Baker, and of course Hemingway himself. At first, understandably, he can't believe what is happening, but eventually he comes to accept that it's real and is thrilled by his good fortune. The next night, he invites Inez to accompany him, but she tires and goes home before the magical limousine appears. When it does, at midnight, Gil goes off alone into the past, and Hemingway takes him to the salon of Gertrude Stein, who, to Gil's delight, agrees to read and critique his novel. He meets Salvador Dali and Pablo Picasso, and most significantly, makes the acquaintance of a beautiful young woman, Adriana, Picasso's muse and lover. We come to know that her relationship with the famous artist is tumultuous and certain to end badly, soon. But for Gil, it is love at first sight. He can't get her out of his mind, even when he returns in the morning to his contemporary life. Gil makes up excuses to Inez so he can keep going back to the past, and what transpires is that he comes to see his life back there, back in the 1920s, as his real life. So desperately he has wanted to live a life that wasn't his own, a life that he has glamorized as more beautiful, more poetic, more meaningful than the one he has made for himself, that soon he has fully embraced that world, so much so that he wants to stay there always. He begins an affair with Adriana, who, as predicted, has been dumped by Picasso. They share their hopes and dreams, Gil revealing his belief that Paris of the 1920s is the perfect world, the time and place where art, culture, and society reached their apex. Adriana, by contrast, contends that it was Paris of La Belle Époque, the time of Impressionism and Art Nouveau, when the city was at its apogee. And indeed, so fervent is her desire for that lost time that one night, as she and Gil stroll along, a horse-drawn carriage appears and transports them back to a café in Montmartre, circa 1870, where they meet the famous painters Claude Monet and Henri de Toulouse-Lautrec. Unfortunately for Gil, Adriana decides to remain back in her idealized Paris. She bids Gil adieu, and he returns to the present once and for all. Although he is saddened by the breakup, he arrives at a new and profound understanding of himself and his life. He realizes that in his desire to escape the present and flee to an image of a world he believed to be better than his own, he was reaching for something ephemeral and ultimately unreal. He was imagining himself to be someone he wasn't, trying desperately to fit into a place that, in the end, he didn't belong. In short, he was being inauthentic, or to put it another way, he was striving for a version of the good life that wasn't really his own. Back in the present, he decides to stay in Paris after all, break off his engagement with Inez, with whom he realizes he has little in common, and pursue his true passion of novel writing, even if it turns out to be less profitable than being a Hollywood hack. As the film ends, we see Gil striking up an acquaintance with an attractive woman he has met briefly in an antiquities shop during his time in contemporary Paris. We don't know how the relationship will unfold, and neither does Gil, but we get a sense that whatever happens to our hero, it will spring from the true core of his character, and an authentic expression of who he really is. Over the years, we've met many people who are in the same place as Gil was during his sojourn into the past. They seem like they're not really living their real lives. They're reaching for a vision of a lost world, one they're trying to grasp by adopting a lifestyle that isn't their own.